Have you ever stopped to think about how the fear of the Lord can totally transform your life? It's not just about avoiding evil, it's about opening doors you never even thought were possible. In today's video, we're getting straight to the point. How can you really tell if you're walking in the fear of the Lord? And how can that impact every single area of your life? Stick with me until the end, because I'm going to show you 7 clear signs that you're on the right path, and how truly fearing God can start unlocking incredible things in your life. Get ready for a deep reflection and an invitation to a life that's closer to God, full of purpose, meaning, and blessings. Fear is something every single one of us faces at some point in life. Whether it's work crises, family conflicts, or personal battles, fear can be this paralyzing force that stops us in our tracks and makes us doubt if we're really capable of overcoming anything. It creates this mental space where insecurity creeps in, crushing our confidence and making us feel small in the face of challenges. But here's the thing, there's a massive difference between the fear that weakens us and the fear of the Lord that empowers us. Natural fear often leaves us feeling helpless, but the fear of God, it's this unshakable trust in His presence, His care, and His power. It's what pushes us forward, even when we have no idea what's ahead. The fear of the Lord isn't about being terrified or anxious. It's a deep reverence for His power and authority, a reverence that reassures us that no matter what's happening around us, He's right there with us. That kind of fear acts like an anchor in our lives. It's a force that gives us the courage to face anything. And when the fear of God becomes the foundation of your life, something amazing happens. All the other fears that used to control you start losing their grip. Isaiah 41:10 gives us this powerful promise. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Notice how it doesn't say that fear will instantly disappear, but it does promise that God will be right there, holding us up and strengthening us. It's this deep assurance that when fear tries to take over, you are never ever alone. Have you ever thought about how the fear of the Lord can actually become this anchor of stability in your life? When the storm of fear starts closing in, you can stand firm, knowing God is in control. The fear of God isn't some kind of threat, it's an invitation to trust completely in His protection. So when fear comes knocking at your door, don't open it. Instead, look up to God, remind yourself of His promise, and say out loud, "The Lord is my strength and my shield." This simple act of faith, it can seriously change everything. It shifts the way you face any challenge. Here's something super practical you can do starting today. And it's simple but powerful. Whenever fear creeps in, doesn't matter if it's big or small, pause, stop for a second, and remind yourself of this life-changing truth. God is with me. Say it out loud, speak it with confidence, and notice how the power of those words starts shifting everything inside you. The more you trust God, the more you'll notice fear slowly losing its grip. It won't be able to paralyze you anymore because your trust won't be in yourself. It'll be in the Lord, who's bigger than anything life can throw at you. Don't wait for the perfect moment to start living this out. Begin right now, wherever you are. Make the decision today to trust God as your strength and refuge. Don't let fear run your life. Remember, God already promised He's right there beside you, and His presence brings peace. So when fear tries to show up again, the fear of the Lord will be your shield, reminding you that you're not alone. This fear isn't just reverence, it's security, it's courage, it's that deep assurance that with God by your side, you'll always have the strength to overcome anything. You know, the desert is this place where it feels like everything's missing. Water, food, rest, hope. It's marked by lack, by that heavy feeling of helplessness, and by this constant fight against everything that's going wrong. When you're walking through a desert season, problems just seem to pile up, solutions feel miles away. The journey gets exhausting, and your vision for the future starts fading fast. But here's the beautiful thing. When you walk in the fear of the Lord, even the driest desert becomes a place of miracles. The fear of God doesn't teach us to run away from hardships. It teaches us to fully trust Him, even in the worst moments. When you recognize that God is your source, the reason for your strength, the desert turns into the very place where He shows up with His power and faithfulness. Trusting His presence isn't just a nice, comforting thought. It's this rock-solid truth that He's walking with you, even when everything feels like it's falling apart. He takes the most barren places and turns them into sources of provision. His power can literally make water flow where there was nothing but dry ground. And that's exactly what He does for those who fear Him. In Exodus 17:6, we see how God showed up for His people in the desert. I will stand there before you by the rock at Horeb. Strike the rock, and water will come out of it for the people to drink. That rock at Horeb is this powerful symbol of Christ, the eternal rock who offers the water of life. The fear of God teaches us that even in the middle of the hardest, driest seasons of life, He is our constant provider. When everything seems hopeless, God surprises us with His faithfulness, bringing abundance to places where there was nothing. So today, as you look at those areas in your life that feel like a desert, maybe it's your relationships, your finances, your health, remember this: God has the power to change everything. He doesn't just change circumstances, He wants to move in your favor. He's the rock that brings provision right where there seems to be none. It doesn't matter how dry or impossible your situation feels. God's in control, and He has the power to bring life, peace, and abundance even to the driest places. Now take a moment, stop, and really think. What's the desert in your life right now? What feels stuck? What feels like there's just no way out? Look at that situation and hand it over to God. Trust that He's fully capable of turning that dry, barren place into a well overflowing with blessings. Even if you can't see the answer right away, believe this: He's already working behind the scenes. That rock Moses struck, that's Christ, and He's ready to pour out living water right where you least expect it. So here's your practice for today, and it's simple. Identify one desert in your life, that one situation that feels hopeless, stuck, or completely dried out. Hand it over to God and trust that He can transform that desert into a fountain. Speak this out loud with faith: God, I trust You. I believe You can make water flow where there's dryness. I believe in Your provision. And as you do that, you'll see how walking in the fear of the Lord transforms even the hardest moments into opportunities for miracles. The Lord is your rock. He's going to bring provision where everything once felt lost. In 1 Samuel 17, we see one of the most powerful stories of courage and trust in God, the moment when David faced the giant Goliath. Back then, Israel was paralyzed with fear. Goliath, this massive, intimidating warrior, had been taunting them for days. But David, this young shepherd boy, stepped up with an unshakable faith and saw that giant in a totally different light. David's victory wasn't because of his strength or some crazy military skill. It came from his absolute trust in God. He knew God was with him, and that confidence turned what seemed impossible into reality. For David, Goliath wasn't some unstoppable nightmare. He was just another chance to glorify God. And guess what? Just like David, we all face giants in our lives. Giants that show up as fear, insecurity, or situations that feel way bigger than anything we can handle. Maybe your giant is a sickness, a financial mess, a broken relationship, or a storm of emotional struggles that feels way too heavy. But the fear of the Lord has the power to flip those threats into opportunities to see God's power move in real life-changing ways. Goliath represented fear, but David, armed with nothing but a sling and unshakable faith, crushed that giant through God's strength. The fear of the Lord empowers us to see every overwhelming challenge as an opportunity to witness His power show up in our lives. Today, I want to invite you to look at the giants you've been facing from a whole new perspective. It doesn't matter how big that problem's standing in front of you. Looks, the fear of God gives you authority over it. When the Lord is by your side, there is no obstacle big enough to stop you. Remember, just like David, you are not alone. God is bigger than any challenge life throws your way. David didn't have a sword or the traditional weapons of war, but he had something far more powerful: total trust in God. And that's exactly what the fear of the Lord does for us. It gives us a kind of faith that crushes fear, doubt, and insecurity. The fear of God isn't passive, it's active. It pushes us to take action with courage, even when things seem impossible. David didn't freeze when he stood in front of Goliath. He ran straight toward that giant, fully confident that God had his back. He knew the battle wasn't his. It belonged to the Lord. And just like David, you don't need an army to win. What you need is faith, a faith that's fueled by the fear of the Lord, a faith that knows when God is on your side, there's no giant you can't defeat. So, here's your practice for today, simple but powerful. Look straight at your biggest challenge right now and say with boldness, I face this giant in the name of the Lord. Say it like you mean it. Declare it with confidence, and when fear and doubt come knocking, remind yourself that your strength comes from God, and He's way bigger than any giant. The fear of the Lord isn't just an attitude of reverence, it's something that moves us to act with boldness, even in the face of the hardest situations. Trust God, declare His victory over your giant, and watch how He opens the way for you to conquer what once felt impossible. In the Christian walk, it's super common to see trials as something we just need to get rid of, like obstacles that need to be avoided at all costs. Most people look at suffering like it's some kind of curse, something to push away as fast as possible. But the Word of God teaches something radically different. It shows us that trials aren't just random obstacles. They are actually divine opportunities for us to grow spiritually. Look at what James 1:2-4 says. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. This verse challenges us to stop seeing difficulties as burdens and start seeing them as tools that God uses to strengthen our faith and grow us in Christ. The mistake a lot of Christians make when facing struggles is trying to escape them. We just want God to pull us out of the fight as quickly as possible without realizing that He's actually using those battles to shape us. When we truly live in the fear of the Lord, it completely changes the way we see suffering. Instead of begging God to take the hardship away, we start asking Him to help us grow through it, to strengthen us, build our character, and draw us closer to His will. A lot of times our prayer sounds like, Lord, please take this away from me. But what we really should be praying is, Lord, teach me. Help me grow through this. Use this situation to shape me into someone who looks more like Jesus. Trials are not punishments. They are opportunities. Opportunities God gives us to mature in faith and perseverance. True fear of the Lord helps us see challenges not as curses, but as instruments that God uses for our good, knowing that in His infinite wisdom He's fully in control and His promises always hold true. So if today you're going through something heavy, whether it's emotional, physical, or spiritual, take a second to stop and ask yourself, what is God trying to teach me through this? Instead of running from the pain, ask how you can grow and be transformed through it. The fear of the Lord teaches us to trust in His wisdom, even when we have no clue why we're going through what we're going through. It shifts our mindset. We no longer see trials as obstacles, but as platforms that God uses to make us stronger, more patient, and more like Christ. Here's today's practice. Again, simple but powerful. The next time you're hit with a trial, pause and pray this. Lord, I know you are shaping me through this. Help me learn what you want me to learn. When you do this, you'll start to realize something powerful. That trial, it's not a wall, it's a doorway to growth. When we walk through suffering with the fear of God in our hearts, it loses its power to paralyze us. Instead, it becomes a stepping stone that leads us to a whole new level of spiritual maturity and trust in God, because God always uses hardship to refine us and prepare us for something greater in His kingdom. The peace Jesus offers us isn't some shallow feeling of calm that comes and goes. It's deep, it's solid, it lasts. It comes from a heart that's been transformed by the fear of the Lord. The kind of peace the world gives? Yeah, that's temporary, it's superficial. It totally depends on whether things are going right. The second a problem pops up, poof, it's gone. But the peace that Jesus gives, oh, it's completely different. Remember when He was in the boat with His disciples and this crazy storm was about to sink them? He just stood up and said, "Quiet, be still." Mark 4:39. And just like that, the storm stopped. That moment teaches us something huge. Real peace isn't about the absence of storms. It's about the presence of God with us, a presence that lets us rest even when everything around us feels like it's falling apart. The fear of the Lord brings us this peace that goes way beyond circumstances. When we're walking close to Him, when we're living right in the center of His will, we get to experience this supernatural calm, even when chaos is all around us. That doesn't mean life suddenly becomes storm-free. Oh, the storms will still come. And yeah, sometimes they hit hard. But right in the middle of it, we can breathe easy knowing God's in control. He is Lord over every storm. Nothing, absolutely nothing, happens without His permission. And the fear of the Lord reminds us of this truth. No matter how wild the storm gets, He has the power to shut it down, just like He did on the Sea of Galilee. So today, if you're facing any kind of storm, emotional, financial, relational, or spiritual, take a second to stop and remember this. You are not alone. The same God who calmed that storm is right there with you. It doesn't matter how bad it feels, how loud the chaos gets. Real peace is still available to you because the Lord is present. The fear of God teaches us to rest in His sovereignty, knowing that even when life feels out of control, He's still running the show. And that gives us a peace that makes no sense to the world. A peace that doesn't depend on everything being perfect, but on knowing that the Lord is greater than any storm. And here's your practice for today. Whenever anxiety, overwhelm, or fear start creeping in, pause, take a deep breath, remind yourself that God is right here with you and speak this out loud. God is with me. He's in control of my storm. Let that become your anchor. A constant reminder that in the fear of the Lord you find peace. Not peace because life's easy, but peace because the one who calms storms is walking with you. He gives you security when everything feels uncertain. He lets you rest, even in the wildest moments. The fear of the Lord also has the power to heal and restore even the most broken relationships. Along this journey of life, we all go through moments of misunderstandings, fights, and hurts, whether it's with family, friends, or co-workers. And when those wounds aren't taken care of, they can dig deep. They cause distance, bitterness, and brokenness. But true fear of the Lord teaches us to see others through the eyes of grace, to forgive the way He forgave us, not holding grudges, but offering the same forgiveness we've received. Ephesians 4:32 reminds us, "Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as in Christ God forgave you." The fear of God leads us down this path of forgiveness and reconciliation. Look, forgiving isn't easy, especially when the wound is deep, the pain is real. But the fear of God gives us the humility to recognize that just like we've been forgiven for our failures and sins, we're also called to forgive those who've hurt us. Forgiveness, when it flows from the fear of God, doesn't depend on what the other person did or didn't do. It depends on God's grace working in us. When we forgive, we're not just setting the other person free, we're setting ourselves free. Free from bitterness, free from anger, free from resentment. Forgiveness doesn't erase the pain, but it brings healing. It doesn't pretend the hurt didn't happen. but it declares that God's grace is bigger and more powerful than any offense. Today, if you're holding on to bitterness or hurt in your heart, stop for a second and think, God forgave me for so much, so why can't I forgive? The fear of the Lord invites us to reflect on the massive forgiveness He's given us and to extend that same grace to others. When we do, our hearts get lighter, our minds calmer, and our relationships start to heal. Forgiveness, powered by the fear of the Lord, is a reflection of God's character living through us. It allows His mercy to overflow into everything we do. So here's today's practice. Simple but life-changing. If you're feeling angry, hurt, or resentful towards someone, stop right now and pray a prayer of forgiveness. Say, Lord, just like you forgave me, I choose to forgive. Remember, forgiveness is an act of obedience to God. It's not about whether the person deserves it. And then, share it in the comments. Who do you need to forgive today? When you do that, you open the door for God's peace to flood your heart, and you set the stage for even the most broken relationships to be restored. The fear of the Lord has the power to transform our wounds into sources of healing, not just between us and God, but between us and others. The fear of the Lord has this incredible power. It can open doors that no human can ever shut. How many times in life have we found ourselves standing in front of closed doors? Maybe it's job opportunities that seem totally out of reach, relationships that feel broken beyond repair, or even this overwhelming feeling of spiritual blockage, like nothing's moving forward. These closed doors often leave us feeling powerless, frustrated, and hopeless. But when we start walking in the fear of God, everything shifts. He has the power to open doors in supernatural ways, ways that go way beyond anything we can understand or control. Revelation 3:7 reminds us of God's authority over every door. What He opens, no one can shut, and what He shuts, no one can open. That means when God decides to open a door, no one can stop Him. And when He chooses to close one, nothing on earth can force it open. The fear of the Lord aligns us with God's will. When we truly surrender to Him, when we walk in reverence and obedience, we start seeking His direction above our own. And that creates a clear path where there was once nothing but confusion. In His perfect wisdom, God knows exactly the right time to open each door in our lives. He's the master of opportunities. He holds the key that unlocks anything, whether it's in your career, your relationships, or your spiritual life. And when we align our hearts with Him, when we truly walk in the fear of the Lord, doors start opening. Not when we expect, not always when we want, but in the perfect divine timing that when we look back, we realize was absolutely right all along. So today, as you look at the closed doors in your life, remember this truth. God holds the key to every single one of them. It doesn't matter how impossible or discouraging things might look right now. If God opens a door, no one can shut it. Instead of stressing or trying to force things to happen on your own, trust Him. Trust that He knows the right time to move. The fear of the Lord is the key to accessing His promises and blessings. He never fails. If He said He would open a door, He will at the right time. Trust in God, fueled by the fear of His power and authority, brings a peace that goes way beyond anything this world can offer. Here's your practice for today. Simple, but so powerful. Look at one area of your life where you feel like you're standing in front of a closed door. Maybe it's something related to work, a relationship, or even something spiritual that feels stuck. Pray this right now. Lord, You are the one who holds the key. Open the door I need in Your perfect timing and according to Your will. And let yourself feel that deep confidence, that calm assurance, knowing that when God opens a door, nothing and no one can close it. Then drop it in the comments. What door do you believe God can open for you today? When you do that, you're putting your faith in the power of the fear of God, the very power that can open even the most impossible doors in front of you. Hey, Congrats on making it to the end of this video. You just made an amazing choice, choosing to seek wisdom and grow in your walk with God. My prayer is that every single lesson we shared today becomes a seed planted deep in your heart, and that you keep growing stronger every day in the fear of the Lord. Remember, this faith journey is a lifelong process, and every step you take closer to God brings you more in line with His purpose for your life. Now I want to hear from you. Which part of this message hit you the hardest? Drop it down in the comments and share your thoughts. And hey, if you don't know what to say, just type "I'm grateful to God." That way I'll know you stayed with me until the end, and that you're serious about living a life fully committed to Christ. And don't forget, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any more videos like this. And to help you keep growing in your spiritual journey, there are 2 more videos waiting for you right after this one. They'll help you dive even deeper into God's Word and strengthen your walk of faith. May God bless you abundantly. See you in the next video.